let's talk about a challenge that pretty much every modern company faces, and it's a big one. How do you upgrade a piece of your digital infrastructure that's absolutely critical, especially when it's spread across multiple, completely different cloud platforms? Today, we're diving into the high-stakes game of evolving your API without, breaking everything for your users.
I want you to imagine this. Your app is a huge popular building, and its front door is just getting old. You need to swap it out for a brand new, super secure, high-tech one. But here's the catch. Hundreds of people are walking through that old door every single second. So how do you replace it without trapping everyone inside or locking them out? Well, that's exactly the problem we're talking about with API evolution.
So what is this digital front door we keep mentioning? It's an API, which stands for Application Programming Interface. Think of it as the official entrance to your service. It's the set of rules that lets all these different software applications talk to each other. It's absolutely fundamental to how the modern internet works.
And this right here, this brings us to the core conflict, the dilemma that every software architect has to wrestle with when it's time for an upgrade. It's this constant battle between innovation and stability. You can really see the two sides of the coin here. On one side, you have the push for version 2. Come on, we need new features, better performance, tighter security. But on the other side, you've got all your existing customers who rely on the rock-solid stability of version 1. Their businesses are built on it, they just need it to work, and you absolutely cannot afford to break their integrations. It's a real tightrope walk.
So how do you possibly manage this? How do you innovate without causing chaos? Well, the answer lies in a very deliberate strategy called versioning. This is the main tool in an architect's toolkit for introducing change gracefully. Now, there are a few standard ways to pull this off. You can stick the version right in the URL path, like /API/v2/users. Super obvious. Or you could tuck it away in something called a custom header, which keeps the URL looking clean. And another way is to add it as a parameter at the end of the URL. Each one of these has its own set of pros and cons.
So let's look at the trade-offs for the two most popular methods. Putting the version in the URL path, it's simple, it's clear, anyone can see it. But yeah, it can make your URLs look a little messy. Using a header instead keeps things really clean, which a lot of developers love, but it's not as obvious, and it can be a bit of a pain to test right from your web browser. An architect has to really think about these things to pick the right path forward. But okay, let's say you've picked your versioning strategy. You'd think the hard part is over, right? Well, not so fast. Now comes the real puzzle, making that one strategy work across 3 completely different cloud platforms. This is where things get interesting. The problem is really simple to say, but it's incredibly hard to solve. See, every cloud provider, AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, they all have their own unique way of doing things. You're trying to build one consistent front door, but you're forced to use 3 different types of locks, hinges, and keycards. Let's see what this looks like in the wild. If you're on Amazon Web Services, you'd use their API Gateway service. It has this concept called stages. So you can create a V1 stage and a V2 stage, and then you use these little bits of code called Lambda functions to route traffic to the right backend. Then you hop over to Microsoft Azure. Their tool is called API Management, and it uses something totally different, version sets. You define your V1 and V2 there, and then you apply these things called policies, which are basically just rules that tell Azure how to direct traffic. Same goal, totally different language and tools. And finally, over at Google Cloud, their API Gateway uses yet another concept, API configs. You can deploy multiple configurations, one for each version of your API, and a single gateway is smart enough to serve traffic to the correct one. So there you have it, 3 major platforms, 3 unique ways to solve the exact same versioning problem. Okay, so when you're facing that kind of complexity, you can't just wing it. You absolutely need a playbook, a clear, step-by-step plan that guides everyone, not just your team, but your customers too, through this transition from V1 to V2 as smoothly as possible. A successful migration follows a really clear roadmap. It's not a mystery. First, obviously, you build and test V2 internally. Then, and this is critical, you publish a formal deprecation notice. You're telling the world that V1 is going away. That opens up a migration window where both versions are running at the same time, giving everyone plenty of time to switch. You send out a final reminder, and only then do you finally turn off V1. The key to all of this is simple, no surprises. So what's the magic number for that migration window? Well, the industry standard, the bare minimum really, is 90 days, a full 3 months. That gives your clients an entire business quarter to plan, to test, and to deploy the changes on their side. It's not just a technical courtesy, it's a sign of respect for their business and their time.
And this brings us to what might just be the most overlooked yet most crucial part of this entire process. And spoiler alert, it has almost nothing to do with the code. It's all about communication.
Look, you could build the best V2 in the history of software, but if nobody knows about it or understands how to switch to it, your project is a failure. It's that simple. You need crystal clear announcements, email, blog posts, social media, you name it. You need amazing documentation with code examples people can just copy and paste. You need to be ready to answer questions, and you have to be totally transparent about your timeline every single step of the way. This quote it gets to the very heart of the matter. Your users, they don't just care about your shiny new features. They care about their business not being disrupted. And that's why a smooth, well-communicated migration isn't just a nice-to-have, it is the real killer feature.
And that leaves us with a final, really important question to think about. In a world where every piece of software is connected to 10 other pieces of software, nothing exists in a vacuum anymore. Changing one thing can create a ripple effect across the entire digital ecosystem. So maybe, just maybe, the most critical skill for a modern architect isn't just about building new things, but about mastering the art of changing the old ones without bringing the whole house down.